I would say that's a very interesting question. But I personally believe this is an omni-channel experience. I think finally it's the customer who should decide what it should be on.
Hi everyone, hi Teleners. Welcome to Inside the Mind, getting to know the leader's mind. This is knowledge sharing platform that we can learn directly from leader and business expert from the global company who are shaping the future of business and technology. Today's guest is extra special. From leading digital transformation at Telenor and now leading Meta's global telco messaging and API partnership, he has a unique perspective on how technology and telecommunication are evolving together. And today, we're so honored to be joined by someone who has spent nearly 2 decades working across both telecommunication and digital technology industry. So please welcome Pushpendra.
So nice to meet you and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Pushpendra, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here. So, Pushpendra, I would like to get to know you better. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good, yeah. So I'm born and brought up in India. Lived there for like most of my education and stuff before moved to London for my masters and stuff. And then afterwards, I worked with Orange. In those days, it used to be France Telecom, or vice versa, whatever you want to call, for like first 5-6 years of my life. And then I worked in India with Reliance. It used to be called ADA in those days, Reliance ADA, and now it's part of the Geo umbrella of the companies. And then I worked with Telenor for good 7 to 8 years across different markets and stuff.
Wow.
For the last roughly nine years plus, I've been working at Meta, based out of Singapore. Love my work to the bits because I think it's just all about connecting last mile and how we do things on our platform and stuff. So it's been an interesting journey with lots of ups and downs, but so much to learn.
Looking back at your journey, one thing that stands out from your career is that you have experienced both sides from within telco and now for Meta. You have experienced both ecosystem. Having worked on both sides, was there any moment that you realized these two worlds actually become stronger through collaboration than competition?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, right? I think if you look at like any of these industries, I think the biggest problem with these industries largely is if we try to compete, then no one will successfully or meaningfully will impact the planet. And I think it's very important for both of these industries to like stay together and work together. I think because that's where the larger dimension comes into place. Because finally, at the end of the day, both of them are serving the same customer. So telcos have to provide like the last mile connectivity. Companies like where I work today and like all OTT players has to provide one of the best possible content. And I think that content will come when they work together. And then again, I think it's like how they can streamline and stuff. So I think my view is like if they compete with each other, we won't have a great customer experience. The person who we are trying to serve will not be happy. But if you work together, I think it will meaningfully make sense for both the companies. And I think that's where I think better profitability will come into place, better customer experience, and I think also better revenues for both the companies. So there isn't a word about competition at all here. I think it's all about cooperation and cooperation to win. So I think collaboration is the thing. And I think I've learned it a lot like while in this space. Because when I used to be in my telco world ages back, I used to always think that, hey, OTTs make so much money, like we should compete with them. Yeah. And now in this world, in the beginning, I used to think so as well. But I think as knowing both the sides of the equation, I think it makes total sense that there isn't a word to compete. It's just collaborate and see.
Yeah, interesting. So it's more about collaborating so we can, have a brand revenue generator together, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So moving from telco company to global technology platform must have required a completely different way of thinking. Looking back at your transition from telco to Meta, what's one skill you developed during your telco years that turned out to be far more valuable than you expected?
That's a good question. I think I'll answer it in two ways. I think when I joined Facebook in those days, for the first 3 months, it was very difficult for me to cope up on how these companies work. because I think the environment is so different, like how they operate. I was always an email person, but I think when you get with these companies, they were like work chats, there were quips in those days, and there's so much information overload all of a sudden, and you were like, oops, I can't just work onto this because there's so much information. The good skill set, I think, which comes from telco world, I think, which really helps is telcos have to live every single day to survive. Every morning, there are people chasing revenue because every evening, if you don't make the money, if you don't acquire the customers, then you start losing market share and stuff. So I think that grill in the telcos where you win every day, I think really helped me as I came to this part of the world. Because I think, yes, tech companies are fast moving. There's so much to be done. But I think, again, everything is like 6 months or maybe 9 months before the product gets into it. But the rigor from telcos that you win every day makes a lot of difference. And that is something I really appreciate that I learned at the telco side, which has really helped me in this part of my business.
Speaking of that dual perspective that you have built over the years, you've spent years building partnership between Meta and telco companies around the world. And at the end of the day, technology alone doesn't build a successful ecosystem, but partnership do, right? So looking back, what separates partnership that simply exist from partnership that truly create long-term value?
That's a very interesting question, and I think something I believe in, right? I think you just don't do partnership just for doing or getting through a one single goal you have. Because partnerships are always done with people. They're definitely done between companies, but they're done with someone on the other side who's a person. And I've seen that at least in the tech telco world, there are limited number of people. People move. So I think if you do a decent job with them, where like everyone was finally a winner in the long term, it's easier to do the next partnership with them. Because I think there's a lot of history to all of these things. If you've done a great deal with someone, if that person moves the job, you ping that person, he or she is there to help you in the next one. I think my only thing is like do win-win partnerships. Partnerships are done with people. Definitely work with companies, but I still believe partnerships is all about people. It's not about companies. And I think if you make the right decisions, you will always make sure that the next deal is also yours. And again, sometimes, someone will lose and win. But I think at the end of the day, I think if everyone wins in this ecosystem, then I think these partnerships survive a lot. So again, it's about being human. I think that's the most important thing.
Speaking of commercially sustainable messaging ecosystem, what does a truly fair between a telco and platform actually look like?
That's a good question, right? I think we are going through this interesting dilemma in the industry where there are sides of people who believe that messaging as an ecosystem should be owned by one type of enterprise or one type of a company. But I personally believe this is an omni-channel experience. I think finally it's the customer who should decide what it should be on. I think the most important thing, what needs to play is that everyone who has been part of the ecosystem should get right to play in that. If they don't want to play, that's different. But finally the customer should be able to choose whether they want to use RCS, whether they want to use WhatsApp, whether they want to use SMS, but they should be provided with all those options. Because if you force a customer onto a typical channel, it's not a good experience. And I think as we move into the next century or next decade of AI and stuff, consumers will choose more and more. So I think the companies which will survive and I think largely move across the larger bandwidth of these things are the companies that give customers more choices. So yeah, I think there's a debate on this still. I think that's out. And there are if and buts to both, but I think finally, my personal view is the ecosystem has to be very omni-channel. And if I'll give you an example, RCS doesn't work on every single phone. WhatsApp doesn't work on every single phone on the planet, but SMS does. But SMS doesn't provide a good two-way communication, whereas WhatsApp does. So, this is like, okay, where if you need a fallback, SMS can do it. Where you need like a richer conversation, WhatsApp can do. But again, I think companies needs to work together to make sure that they serve the same customer. Because finally, this customer is only the same customer. They all are going after the same customer. It's just all about providing a better experience. All will win finally in this race. Sometimes it might feel that someone is winning, someone is losing, but finally it will just balance out.
I would like to bring this conversation a little closer to home. Throughout our discussion, we've talked about a how successful ecosystems are built through strong partnership and meaningful connection. Connectivity remains the foundation, but increasingly, it's what you build on top of that foundation that create lasting value, right?
Yeah.
So Pushpendra, looking ahead, where do you see the biggest opportunity for companies like Telin to create even greater value for global digital platform?
Good. So I think I worked with the Telin for a lot last over the 4, 5, 6 years, and I think a few things I really like about the company is very innovative, adaptable to the environment, and I think very future looking. I've seen sometimes, that it might take some time because I think some of the business models are pretty new and stuff. But I think for a company like Telin with like a huge base in Indonesia and like solid human resource capital across the world, I think they need to be in the communication business as a whole. And I think they should not be just like, okay, I just need to be in the business which is hugely profitable and stuff, because tomorrow the tides may turn. So I think that's what my take would be, like from the subsea cable business to the messaging business to like the APIs business, I think, which is probably going to be the future. And definitely, yeah, I think building like bots on WhatsApp, which can enable easy decision making for users. So I think in totality, right, like they need to see what they are doing as well is to see OTTs as their great partners in the journey and like largely listen to the customer journey. But again, as I mentioned, like my experience working for the last 4 years with Telin is that there's an amazing set of people there. And I think they're moving in the right direction. It's just that you need to move fast. You need to make sure that finally we're serving the same customer. I'm sorry I'm repeating it again and again. But I think just need to fast track few of those things.
Thank you so much. So I love to end by stepping inside your mind as a leader, because I believe behind every partnership, every decision, every transformation, there's a leader making difficult choices, continuously evolving along the way. So throughout your international career, and if you compare the leader you are today and the leader you were 10 years ago, what's the biggest change in the way you think? Does it also change the way you lead people today?
It does, yeah. I think, first of all, every leader should be humble. I don't believe in hierarchies. And I think these are the two things I think which has really helped, because if I start believing in hierarchies, then there will be young people who would be starting the career and there's no way I can ever meet them. So, and I think it's just like a double-edged sword. So I think a leader needs to be humble. And second, I don't believe in hierarchies. I will go and talk to the CEO and I will go and talk to the first line person, because I think there's so much to learn. And I think that's something I've learned over the last 10-15 years of my career, is that's the way to grow in the new age of leadership.
So actually you sit with them, right? You heard them.
Yeah. I will get my hands dirty, and I will also make sure that I'm on the table when the decisions are made. And I think it's always good to know both the sides of it, so that you're always close to the reality.
That's beautiful. So listening to your journey, it seems that while roles, industries, and technologies may change, but I believe some principles remain constant. If we could step inside your mind once again, what's one principle that has consistently guided you to your decision throughout your career?
I think I've always believed in building strong relationships, and the relationships where I can go back. And I think that has been the foundational layer of my career. I can still go back to the first person I ever did some work outside, and I'm sure that person will sit next again, have a cup of coffee with me and do the deal again because of the trust I built with that person.
That's beautiful. So Pushpendra, if you could go back to your younger self, maybe in your college era or a high school era, what would you say to yourself?
I would say that's a very interesting question, because that is something I keep on telling my son now. If like one thing I could have done better was read more. I was always busy working, and somewhere I think I left the habit of not reading a book every day. So I think I would just say that if I could read more, it would make a material change to my life, and that's what I keep on telling my son.
Yeah. So what's your favorite book back then, maybe?
That's a very good question. Like what my favorite book was. There's an Indian author, and I think she also won the Booker's Prize, The God of Small Things. by Arundhati Roy. It used to be my favorite book on those days. Very difficult to read, but I think it's just talked about like how small things matter so much in life.
That's
So I think that's one of the books. But again, I think there's so much to read.
Yeah.
I think I should just say before you sleep, try to just read 5-6 pages every day of anything, because I think it's just going to enhance your knowledge and you will probably have a different perspective of the world. Like I've always believed, like in the newspaper, I never read the first page first. I read the sports one first because it's exciting before you go on the first page, which is stressful. So I think reading should be taken into that.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Pushpendra, for sharing your experience, perspective, and honest reflection to us. I hope today's conversation and knowledge sharing brings valuable insight for telliers and young professionals out there and inspires us to keep growing and learning together. And before we wrap up our session, this is our tradition in every episode. So please complete the sentence with your own style, okay?
Okay. I hope it's not a difficult one.
Oh, it's very easy. So here's the one. Great leadership begins when?
Trust is the baseline.
Thank you so much, Pushpendra, for joining us on Inside the Mind.
Thank you very much, and thanks for taking out time. Thanks.
Thank you, telliers. Keep growing and keep learning, and see you on the next episode.